You good? Yeah.
Some things have changed since you made your way in my life. Things are much different than they were.
Okay, so as I mentioned in a past video, I did share with Gerard very early that I was a virgin, or I am a virgin. I am still a virgin. What am I talking about? Ain't nobody doubt this. Hi guys, Msnaturallymary here once again, and today I'm here to do another video on the topic of virginity. Today I have my boyfriend Gerard here with me, and we're gonna do a video just kind of sharing his initial thoughts of dating a virgin, what he thinks currently in dating a virgin. I noticed that many of you guys commented under my videos. So many of you all were virgins, which is pretty awesome. And if you weren't a virgin, you were kind of exploring the idea of maybe going down the path of celibacy or practicing abstinence, which was pretty awesome. And so what I noticed is that many of you guys wanted to gain a better understanding of whether a guy would date a virgin. Many of you guys thought that guys typically run when they hear the whole notion of you being a virgin. They're really not into that. They're not wanting to entertain that at all. So we're just going to share our thoughts on the issue, you know, how we went about sharing with one another, when we went about sharing with one another, you know, our whole sexual past or whatever the case may be. And so yeah, we're just gonna get into it. For those who don't know, we met via Instagram, and if you have not watched our boyfriend tag video, go watch that video. We'll link it here. I believe there'll be an eye on this side, so you guys can go check out that video so that you can get more details or insight on our initial meeting and all that. But through Messenger, I shared with him that I was a virgin, I believe within the first 2 weeks. And if we'd actually met in person, I probably would have shared that earlier. But when I initially told him, Gerard's response was, do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I mean, when you told me about it, I think you were a little bit maybe nervous about possibly telling me that or sharing that with me.
No, I'm never nervous about telling me that.
So
I will tell you.
When she told me, you know, my initial response was, you know, wow. You know, I was like, man, you know, because I think it's very rare, you know, for a woman of our age to be, you know, saving herself for marriage. And I thought, I was like, man, that's pretty amazing. So,
in our age, I'm 31, he's 33.
Yes.
I'll link the I'm 31 and a virgin video so you guys can watch that as well.
So when she shared it with me, I thought it was, man, I was like, man, that's awesome. You know, this woman here, she's 31 years old and she's saving herself for marriage. So it wasn't necessarily a turn off. I thought it was awesome, and I thought it was admirable that she, you know, saved herself for her husband, and that was the path that she chose. So I didn't think it was anything negative or anything. I was, you know. I
wasn't sure if that's what he initially thought though, because when we were exchanging messages, I presented the whole notion of being a virgin, and I asked him how he felt about dating someone that was a virgin, or if he ever had. Have you ever dated a virgin in the past?
No, I haven't.
So he never dated a virgin in the past. And I believe when we knew it was kind of progressing into something, when we knew like something was between us, because when we initially just started conversing, I wasn't thinking about Gerard in that way. I was just, you know, he's just a nice guy, but I'm really not thinking about him, you know, in regards to like a relationship or anything. But when it started to blossom into something that could potentially be something, I said, you know, let me go ahead and tell him. And so his initial response when I asked him, so if you're dating a virgin, do you think you can wait until marriage to actually have sex? Because that's my desire. I desire to wait until marriage. And he said something about it takes a great deal of faith and a great deal of strength to go down that path.
Absolutely.
And so I asked him, like, do you think you could do that? And he's like, did you say, I think he said something like, at this current moment, it was like he was hesitant, like he wasn't sure. So were you clear on if you could do it or not?
No, it wasn't that. I mean,
that's what I got from like and you know, it's been screwed through Messenger, but that's what I thought.
Right. It wasn't that I didn't think I could do it, because you know, I've always felt as if I put my mind to something, I could do it. And most importantly, you know, through my walk with Christ, you know, it was something that I also desired, you know, to do it the right way. You know, as Mary probably alluded to in her other videos, or it's been mentioned in her comments and things of that nature, I'm actually not a virgin. So as I've learned, you know, over my life, I've always tried to do it, I guess, somewhat, or in the past, I've done it kind of my way, and I've always desired to, you know, do it the right way. And I felt, you know, when she mentioned that to me, you know, I mean, it was like, man, you know, wow, you know, and like I said, I thought it was very admirable that she, you know, for 31 years of her life, she saved herself, and I'm sure over those 31 years, there's been temptation and, you know, advances from men as it relates to that area, and she's kept herself, so I thought that was awesome. And
Jesus kept me. I didn't keep myself. Jesus did.
Absolutely, absolutely. So
no way I could have done it on my own.
Absolutely. Okay. So when she told me, I was like, man, that's cool. And like I said, you know, in the past, I've done it kind of my way, and looking to, you know, I said, in the future, I would want to do it right. You know, I want to do it the right way. And I think, you know, when she mentioned that, it didn't necessarily turn me off. I mean, like I said,
it didn't scare you in any way. You were just like open. Absolutely
not. Like I said, forever I've done it my way. You know, I feel, you know, it's only right. You know, and I think, and it didn't work. You know, so I'm 33 and I'm not married, and I'm no longer with any of those women. So, you know, let's try His way. And when she mentioned that to me, and I had no issue with it at all.
But what's crazy is I initially thought, because of the conversation we had, it was a long dialogue between the two of us via messenger that night. Like, we probably stayed up till, like, was it 3 in the morning? Yeah, he was asking me all sorts of questions about, you know, my past relationships, which is healthy when you're kind of going down the path. Trying to get to know someone, especially if you want it to lead to a relationship. Absolutely. Or a Christ-centered relationship, purpose-driven relationship. It's necessary to have those conversations. And so that night, I thought it went a completely different. I thought it didn't go well, you know, and I thought that he can't handle being with a virgin because of how he responded, because there was a sense of hesitancy. But he says that he was like, on his end, thinking, you know, this is great. But on my end, I'm thinking, no, he's, you know, he just, his whole dialogue kind of changed. He's, instead of saying, you know, you and I, he's now saying, you know, you'll find somebody. He's coming. I'm like, he's coming. What do you mean? Now you're trying to put me off on someone else. And then he also said something along the lines of, I said to him, so if you're dating a virgin, is this something that you're going to be doing for her? Or would you be doing this for you? Because this is an actual desire of yours. And he's like, well, today, and I love that he was honest. He's like, today, in the current state that I'm in, I'm not sure if it would be something that I'm going to be able to do, if I'm going to actually be able to go down that path. And I wish I could go back to the actual message. To like,
well, the thread exists, but good luck finding it. You know how that works. But here's the thing, though. We're doing this via messaging, and there's no way for her to gauge my flexion in terms of the things that I'm saying. It's messenger, so a lot of times things are lost, whether I'm being sarcastic when I say, you know, just hold on, he's coming. And because
he never said he's coming in the past.
I said he's coming, and I'm on the other end messaging her, and she can't see the smile and how I feel inside when she's telling me this, and how happy I'm. Like, man, this is amazing. This woman is amazing.
You really happy?
Babe, I didn't think anything negative.
I thought so.
So by me being, you know, sarcastically, hold on, he's coming, don't worry, and, you know, I'm lighting up on the other end of the message, and she has no idea. And like she said, she interpreted it completely different, because prior to that, I had never mentioned he. It was always just kind of us talking about, you know, each other and the possibilities and what we desire in a partner. And then, like I said, I kind of turned it, instead of, I guess, being direct and say, you know, I'm the guy, which I felt like, I just said he's coming, just hold on. And
but that he was you.
Absolutely.
I didn't know.
I'm here, right?
Yeah. I didn't know that he was you, though. So the next day, I really didn't expect a message from him. I literally, my heart and everything was just completely just okay with Gerard not being the guy, because I literally said to God, like, you know, if he's not open to this, if this is not something that he's willing to entertain and actually like explore with me, then, you know, it's just not going to happen. I'm not going to compromise on that. And so I just like eliminated all my emotions, you know, everything that I had developed for him, because I had started to grow, you know, fond of him. And so when we had that conversation, it was like, I'm just going to let that go. I'm going to sacrifice this guy. Like, I like this guy. I was starting to like him in this moment, but I'm like, I love you more, and I want to make sure I do it your way. And so if that's not something we can do together, then it's not gonna happen. But he wrote me the next day, and I was like, oh, I didn't. What did I say to you? I don't remember.
It was something along the lines how you thought that.
I was like, after our discussion,
you thought it went foul, and you said, you didn't expect to hear from me, as if she was gonna run me off with that, and I was like, no way. In fact, to be honest, like I leaned in even more after that, because like I said, that's special, man, and it's very rare to find something like that, and I'm moving forward. I'm not gonna run away. So.
Yeah, you said, why wouldn't I?
Exactly,
Yeah, so something along the lines. I don't know why I can't remember right now, but yeah. So
I said, why would I? You said, you thought you were gonna run me off or run me away, and I said, why would I? What did you say? In fact, like I said, it made me want to lean in more, and man, this could be something. And like I said, in the past I've always kind of done it my way, like why not do it his way? And so when she mentioned it to me, it made me reflect. You know what I mean? If you're truly gonna do this walk, you have to do it right on all levels. You can't pick and choose. I'm gonna abstain from drinking and doing certain things of that nature, but I'm gonna do this stuff, and I'm gonna go clubbing and stuff. But so it's like you can't pick. If I'm gonna do it, I want to do it right the entire way. And when she posed that to me, I was just being transparent in the moment, and it was like, I said, that's a good question, and I had to check myself about that and say, man, how serious are you, So I was like, man.
And you told me he had watched a message by Pastor John Gray. Was it God's closing up the hole in my flesh?
Absolutely.
And so after watching that, after watching that video, I guess it was something that was in his heart.
I prayed about it. I prayed about it exactly because you want him to cover that area, close that hole, and let him fill that space or that desire. So and with him, I think those urges would be suppressed, and so I just leaned into the relationship, and I thought that this had the potential to be something special.
And it is.
Absolutely.
We did a Q&A post on Instagram. Well, I did a Q&A post on Instagram, and someone asked about whether he was celibate before me, or if he was, I don't know that they asked about you being a virgin. I guess they just assumed you weren't because you're a guy. I don't, but there are guys, I'm sure, that are virgins.
Absolutely.
But someone asked about whether he was going down the path of celibacy before me, or if it was something that began when we started our relationship. And so that's pretty much the case. He was somebody that was, active. And when I presented it to him, it was crazy because it was like something shifted. I thought it was going to be like, I don't know, like a struggle almost. You just assume if somebody's consistently, doing something, then it's going to be a challenge for them to now stop. But when I initially posed the whole notion, and he decided, after we had the whole conversation and hashed the whole thing out, the next day it was like, I'm on board. Like, let's do this, and it's going to be fine. So what are your current thoughts on being with a virgin? I thought there was fear in the beginning. He just told me that there wasn't. We had never even had that conversation, so it was quite shocking to hear that he's happy to hear that, and he thought it was admirable. We had the messaging, process going on Instagram, but we never actually talked about what he actually thought when I told him. So it was like really interesting to hear that you're like happy about that. I had no idea.
Absolutely. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So.
But currently, my thoughts are, it's amazing. Like I said, I prayed for that hole in me to be filled with Jesus, and so I'm dating her, and I think kind of taking that off the table, and some other things, like you said. Check out her other videos she made in regards to us with the no kissing and things like that. I think we're able to develop a relationship on a different level, and the physical is not there. Now, we hug and things of that nature, but and
he'll kiss me on my cheek or like my forehead, but
so.
No.
Right, but currently, no issue. I'm not focused on that. I'm not even thinking about that. Like I said, a lot of times we're married, and she's my girlfriend, and I love her, but I try not to think of her in that light. Like I said, I think it all begins with your thoughts, and once you start having those thoughts leads to action. So I try to suppress those thoughts, and so no issue. Everything's great.
So now transition into the whole notion of being unequally yoked in regards to one person being a virgin and the other person not being a virgin. When we saw that under my, I believe it's my virgin video, we were quite shocked by that comment. Not that it was a bad comment, you know, because it's, you know, it's a gray area, you know, but being unequally yoked has more to do with whether you're a believer or not. It really doesn't have much to do with if the person has a sexual past versus someone that is completely pure and has not actually had sex. There was a fear from many virgins who felt as though that, you know, dating someone that has a past, it's kind of not fair, or they don't want to be unequally yoked with this person, that whole idea. But when we speak of Christianity or being someone that is a believer, we know that a strong part of that, or a significant part of that, is actually forgiveness. And also God ridding us of our past sins if we repent and we actually ask God to cover us in that manner. And so Gerard is someone who is a believer, and you know, although he has been sexually active in the past, that's not something that now eliminates him from being able to be with someone that is a virgin, or you know, it doesn't make me better in a sense because I haven't had sex, and so we cannot date or get married or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. And also, you know, as someone who is a believer, for me, I don't view him through that lens anymore, you know, because we're together and I know that we're meant to be. It's not a whole big thing of, you know, you dated somebody, you guys had sex, and I'm actually consistently going back to his past. Now that we're together, those things that happened prior to me, you know, we've discussed all those things, and we've kind of, you know, ironed out, you know, all the different things that might maybe have some type of effect on us in our current relationship. But in regards to what's happening now, it's just about us.
All right, give me 2 seconds. I'm about to go in, so just be ready.
I'm about to go in.
I'm about to go in.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, that's like real.
Yeah.
That comes.
Yeah, it's a safe word.
Yeah, it's like
safe word. Yeah, it's safe word. Safe word. Okay. So another comment that I thought was, you know, quite interesting. Someone, you know, put the idea out there that because I've actually had a sexual past, that and Mary being a virgin, that moment, you know, after we get married wouldn't be special, given, you know, my past. I thought that was kind of interesting because we can all agree that you know, you can do different things with, you know, different people, whether it be traveling, going out to the movies, going out to eat, and that moment takes on a completely different meaning depending upon who it's with.
Yeah.
And you know, Mary, actually, we're on this journey together, and I think because we're doing it together and because we're doing it His way, I think that moment would be blessed, and it would be even more special than any of my past relations, given that, most importantly, it was done His way and we were on a journey together doing it. So yeah, that's just kind of my take on it. So don't feel as though, like, you know, dating someone who has a sexual past and you being a virgin, that moment together wouldn't be as special. You know, I think it can be that much more special, given that, especially in our circumstances, that you guys journeyed on this road together and you did it His way. I think that would be even more blessed, or be just as special as the first time, if not even more, given that it was done the right way. And I imagine it, and work with me now. And I'm telling you, as my girlfriend, we're just kicking it, forget this camera, that I think that would be by far the most special moment I've ever experienced. You know what I mean? Just because, like, this is my wife. You know what I mean? Like, it isn't, you know, just being a young guy and in college or having fun, or, you know, thinking this is cool. It just takes on a completely different meaning. And yeah, I mean, when I think about it, babe, it's kind of crazy, man. It touches me, and it's like I can't even imagine. From, like, kind of like what we talked about, like the notion of the kiss thing. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I've kissed a girl before. You've kissed a guy before, and
I have.
The fact that we're actually saving ourselves for that area, we both can agree that that moment together for the first time is going to be magical. And we talked about it, like you said, you mentioned in our other video that, you know, how magical that moment would be.
Nice. And ultimately what it comes down to is, you know, we've all sinned. We've all done different things that we shouldn't do. It doesn't make me better. It doesn't make him someone that's less qualified for anything just based off of, you know, my virginity. It's just a path that I've decided to take. And now that we're going down this path together, it's going to be even more beautiful because we're waiting together. So it's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome. Okay, I'm shedding too much light on the awesomeness of, of this moment. Jesus gonna bless it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Because we made it and we did it His way.
His way and not our way. So
we hope that this video helped in some way. Again, we are only sharing our thoughts and opinions and our journey with you all. And we just wanted to cover some of these different topics because many of you all asked that we shed light on these things. So we hope that we covered them in a manner that was helpful and you guys enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a big thumbs up. If you'd like for us to do more videos like this, then leave it down in the comment section. Give us some more ideas and we'll be sure to cover those topics as well. We look forward to seeing your comments and feedback. Be sure to subscribe, share this video with a friend, and look out for more videos with me and Bae. We got a lot coming.
Hey, thank you guys.